All right, everyone, there he is, Pope Francis. The papal plane has landed in Mexico.
Yeah, you're witnessing history. This is the first time that the Pope has stepped foot in Mexico. It's the beginning of his 5-day trip, which ends right here in Juarez and in the borderland.
Hundreds of thousands of people gathered today as Pope Francis held what was expected to be the biggest event of his 5-day trip to Mexico, a mass in Ecatepec. And checking in now with the Pope, he has just left Federico Gomez Children's Hospital.
Yeah, he's now en route to his Pope-mobile to wrap up his second full day in Mexico. This is a live look, doing what he normally does, being out there with the people. You can see him greeting children. A lot of people out there on the streets of Mexico. The Pope arrived in Juarez this morning, the last stop on his 6-day visit to Mexico. There he is getting off the plane. He was greeted by hundreds of people in the bleachers set up at the city's airport.
The pontiff's first stop took him to state prison Cerezo number 3. The inmates sat in silence, unshackled for the Pope's message. Pope Francis urged the inmates there to look into the future and believe that their lives can change.
And it's a moment borderland residents will be talking about for generations to come, the border blessing on the U.S.-Mexico line. News Channel 9's Alejandra Briones is at the data center. She was there the whole day watching as people who were considered Pope VIPs were there along to receive that special blessing. Alejandra.
Yeah, to say the border blessing was an emotional moment is an understatement. Waves of emotion as Pope Francis made history.
Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia's body has left a funeral home in Northeast El Paso and arrived at the airport. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Don Guevara.
And I'm Brianna Pitts. We have team coverage for you tonight. We begin with News Channel 9's Alejandra Briones, who is live at Atlantic Aviation with more. Ali.
Antonin Scalia's body arrived here at Atlantic Aviation around 5 o'clock this afternoon. The procession got here about 45 minutes ago. This exclusive photograph shows Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia's casket as it was being escorted onto a private jet.
Justice Scalia's body first arrived in El Paso very early Sunday morning. Right now, we're going to go to News Channel 9's Zach Real, who's been there for most of the morning.
Yeah, he's live from Sunset Funeral Homes in Northeast El Paso.
Yeah, Justice Scalia's body was transported from the funeral home just about an hour ago by El Paso Police and the U.S. Marshal Service. This came as a surprise really to everyone here. Originally, we were told he wouldn't be moved until tomorrow at the earliest. Now, if we can take a look at what the scene looked like as they were transporting his body away from the funeral home and heading towards US 54.
All right, more on that breaking news we told you about earlier. Police remain on the scene in downtown El Paso where a shooting has taken place. News Channel 9's Marissa Armas is at the scene with more. Marissa, tell us where you are.
Now, I'm still out here near Overland and Santa Fe. That's going to be downtown near the Greyhound station. Police say they were called to this scene about 30 minutes ago for an apparent gunshot wound. They told me that 2 men were involved and 2 men were shot.
Well, new information tonight into Thursday night's deadly shooting in downtown El Paso.
What you're looking at right now is video sent to us by a viewer, and it shows the tense moments following that shooting. We continue to follow this situation in Dallas. 5 officers are dead, 7 others are injured after a shooting during a protest in downtown Dallas last night. And we have team coverage for you tonight on all of this. We're going to start with the latest on the suspect. He has been identified as 25-year-old Micah Xavier Johnson. According to NBC, he was an Army veteran and left the reserves back in 2015. He was working as an aide for a mentally challenged children's and adult center, and Johnson grew up in Mesquite, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas. While the chaos was erupting on the streets of downtown Dallas last night, a woman heard it all unfold from her apartment building. Watch this. Now, this all happened during a protest over the week's deadly officer-involved shootings of 2 black men in 2 different states. We talked to the woman who shot this video from her apartment right where that protest was taking place.
At first I was just a little confused. I thought maybe it was fireworks, but then the more pops that we heard, it just became really obvious that it was not fireworks and that they were actually guns, and we were terrified. The protest was peaceful and everybody was getting along, and this was not the protesters.
This all began Tuesday in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where a black man was killed during a struggle with officers. The incident was captured on video, which appears to show police shooting 37-year-old Alton Sterling as he was being held to the ground by officers. Police say a call to 911 said that someone matching Sterling's description threatened someone with a gun outside of a convenience store. The two officers involved in the shooting have been on the force for 3 and 4 years.
Stay with me. We got pulled over for a busted tail light in the back.
And then on Wednesday, a Minnesota man was shot and killed by a police officer during a traffic stop in the St. Paul, Minneapolis suburb of Falcon Heights. Now, the aftermath was captured on graphic video recorded by a passenger, and she was live streaming it on social media. The woman explains that after being pulled over, her boyfriend was shot several times while reaching for his license. She says her boyfriend had told officers before the shooting that he had a gun in the car. More traffic headaches could be in our future. Thanks for joining us tonight for News Channel 9 at 6. I'm Don Guevara. City Council members are asking TxDOT officials to consider lowering the speed limit when construction is taking place. News Channel 9's VNA Rana is in West El Paso with the details. VNA.
Don, residents have been dealing with traffic, backup, and construction for quite some time now. And today's city manager, Tommy Gonzalez, revealed that the request would push for reduction of speed limits along areas that don't include construction zones.
Changes are coming to the historic Camino Real Hotel. Council gave the green light for the city to work with the private investor on remodeling the property. News Channel 9's Daniela Pardo has more from downtown.
The soon-to-be new owners say the hotel hasn't had a makeover since the 80s. We got to take a look inside to learn how they're going to renovate this gem in the heart of our city.
It's a winter wonderland in the borderland. Thanks for joining us. I'm Linda Ong.
And I'm Daniel Marin. We do have a lot to get to tonight, so let's start with the current road conditions. Trans Mountain Drive is closed. Pedestrians are not allowed to pass the barriers. Scenic Drive is also closed, as well as Highway 180 at the New Mexico state line to Carlsbad. The Anthony Gap is now open, but drivers are urged to proceed with caution. And if you use public transportation, the Brio is operating on its normal Sunday schedule for now.
And if you're planning on going out today and returning some Christmas presents that you didn't like, you're most likely going to have to wait. 3 of El Paso's major malls are closed due to the weather. This includes Cielo Vista in East El Paso, Sunland Park Mall, as well as the outlet shops. As you can imagine, their parking lots are just too messy and the manpower just isn't there to get them all plowed for shoppers. They're all set to reopen tomorrow morning. Bassett Place did remain open today, though they are closing at 7 p.m.
And probably the biggest thing that we've stressed about this storm is to just stay off of the roads. You've heard us say it over and over again, and this is why. Take a look at this crash. It's a semi-accident near I-10 in Vinton. Earlier today, an 18-wheeler jackknifed in the median near the Anthony exit. That semi is still there at this hour. No word yet on the estimated clearing time of the wreck, but we will, of course, keep you posted. No one was hurt in this crash. And this morning's commute was also dangerous all over. Over on I-10 and Airway, another crash actually blocked the outside lane and slowed down traffic on the freeway.
And city crews are out in full force salting the streets. This will prevent roads from becoming slippery and make them safer to travel on. But again, if you don't need to be out, stay indoors.
El Paso, Texas.
And over in the Lower Valley, people were driving around, not in their vehicles, though. They say that this is a rare occasion, so they just had to hop on their quads and take advantage. Also taking advantage of the snow were some of the dogs, as you can see. The bigger ones seem to enjoy it more than the smaller ones.
And pretty bad visibility earlier today in Far East El Paso. You can hear and see the slick roads in the roundabout by Joe Battle and the Ocotillo sculpture. Tree branches also pretty heavy with snow. And people couldn't resist snapping photos in this weather. This family pulled over to take some pictures of such a rare sight in the borderland. And over at Nation's Tobin Park, kids and pets took advantage of the blanket of snow. And speaking of fun, we want to show you some viewer photos.
This was sent to us from Edward Green. He wrote, quote, "This is my first snowman and I am 30 years old."
And Esteban Rodriguez sent this one in. He built an igloo with friends.
We got another picture to show you right now. We have a shot of this cutie, Jillian Gooden. And this picture is from the Lower Valley. And you can see the frozen hat atop her head is very, very appropriate.
Very fitting. And also check out A Star Wars droid sent into us by Blanca Avalos. Now, for people who don't get a lot of snow, El Pasoans sure have been making some impressive stuff. And our winter weather coverage doesn't end here.
You can always stay updated on our website. That's elpasoproud.com. You can find updates on all the closures around the town and current road conditions. You can also find updates on our Facebook and Twitter pages. Well, fire investigators are trying to determine the cause of a large brush fire in the Lower Valley. According to fire spokesman Carlos Briano, it happened late last night in a large ditch area on the 7400 block of Wilcox, that is near EPCC's Valle Verde campus. Flames and smoke could be seen for miles, although no official cause has been released. People who live in the area tell us, here's how they think it started.
We hear kids lighting fireworks, and yeah, we leave and we come back about 5 minutes later, and when we get back, we see them trying to like stomping on it, and all of a sudden it just like expanded on them and they started running.
And 14 fire units were dispatched to help extinguish that blaze.
Let's go ahead and get started with the 6 o'clock hour with some overnight developments. El Paso Fire Department was busy putting a stop to a water main break that happened in northeast El Paso earlier this morning. In fact, it happened at around 1:30 this morning near Wren and Montgomery. That is just a few streets away from Irvin High School. Take a look at that video. A lot of water coming out of there. Witnesses tell us that the water was shooting as high as 300 feet in the air. Meanwhile, the fate of a once convicted killer also remains up in the air this morning. Daniel Villegas is still scheduled to stand trial again in May for the deaths of 2 men who were gunned down in northeast El Paso back in 1993.
Daniel said he protested that he had nothing to do with the murders of those 2 teens.
So I said, you know, okay, I'll make a statement.
That, said Daniel, was after 4 hours in custody, frightened and exhausted.
And you said yes to everything?
Yeah.
But you didn't think when you said those things, this means I'm going to be in prison for the rest of my life?
Nah, I didn't even think none of that.
Come on, really?
If you're not even thinking about the future, you're just thinking about the present moment.
Getting out of there.
Exactly.
And that Dateline episode titled The Confession airs tonight on News Channel 9 at 8. Again, News Channel 9 is the only local media outlet to sit down with Daniel. Zach Rael is joining me now. Daniel was released from prison not too long ago. What has life been like for him since he's been out? A lot has changed.
Yeah, absolutely, Brianna. We caught up with Daniel, his girlfriend Amanda, and their newborn son who was born in September. Daniel says it's been an emotional roller coaster since he was released on bond.
One day I was locked up, and I was locked up for going on 19 years, and then all of a sudden I'm in the street again. You know, I mean, it was just, and my whole mind was processed, and I didn't know how to live out of it. You know, I knew how to live in there, but not out here. So, you know, it was mind-boggling to change just that fast.
Villegas talked about how society is different. For example, when he went to prison, beepers were in and cell phones were big bricks. When he got out, Villegas says that he spent a lot of time trying to figure out computers, and he is still trying to get used to how much things cost. Villegas says that he wanted to share his story with Dateline because he wants people all over the United States, not just here in El Paso, to hear his story, because he is certain there are cases like this out there.
And now, News Channel 9, live from San Jacinto Plaza.
We are live in the heart of downtown El Paso at San Jacinto Plaza. Finally, it's opening to the public tomorrow. We want to thank you for being with us tonight. I'm Brianna Pitts.
And I'm Don Gavada. Look at us. It is a nice, sunny, windy day. A lot of dust out here in the borderland. That is why Brianna and I have our sunglasses, and our guests, the mayor and Courtney Nyland, will be donning them as well. So just sort of bear with that as we kind of bear the elements. This is a beautiful park. Behind me, let me kind of scooch over to the side, is the centerpiece of this plaza, the famous Los Lagartos statue. It has been a big part of this plaza's history.
Yeah, that's right. This was actually restored by a technical team. Refinishing Auto Division in Ohio refurnished the fiberglass statue. And at one point, many years ago, believe it or not, there were actually live alligators at the plaza. Now, in November, a huge canopy was raised to cover the statue and to protect it. And crews had to wait for a replacement cable to be manufactured all the way in Germany. A place where people might be hanging out tonight is Southwest University Park. It is the home opener for the Chihuahuas. twist tonight.
Yeah, a lot going on this weekend. That is where we have sent our very own Bo Bagley. Bo, what's going on over there right now?
The Reno Aces just arrived a little bit earlier this afternoon, now getting batting practice as they take on the El Paso Chihuahuas tonight in the Chihuahuas home opener.
This park has had a lot of controversy surrounding it recently and even back in history when this park was first started. Let's send things over to News Channel 9's Marissa Armas. She has more on this. Marissa.
Don, Brianna, that's right. Now, although this plaza has been accompanied with a few issues along the way, historians say that that's nothing new. They say that back then there were alligators that occupied this space, and those alligators caused a lot of ruckus. Now, the San Jacinto Plaza made its mark in El Paso in the 1820s. That's when it was owned by Juan Ponce de Leon, who used the area as stable for his livestock. Ponce de Leon eventually sold it to a man named Smith, who sold it to investors. The idea of having a public square finally came in the 1880s. The city of El Paso bought the land, constructed a park, and built a gazebo. The area was nicknamed Plaza de los Lagartos when developers donated 3 real-life alligators to this park, and historians say that having alligators in the park made it something that had never been seen before. So a lot of history that accompanies this plaza.
Joining us now is Ashley Parker Angel, the star. I'm going to call you the star of the show.
Okay.
All right? We're going to call
I'll take it.
Just for today, we'll call you the star of the show. Now, you played Fiyero in Wicked. Go ahead and tell us about, give us a quick synopsis. What is Wicked about?
Well, if you've ever grown up with The Wizard of Oz being a part of your life, there's a lot of familiar characters from The Wizard of Oz. It's basically centrally focuses on the story of Elphaba, who is the Wicked Witch, who's the Green Witch that you probably recognize from The Wizard of Oz. And it's basically telling her story. And I play the Prince. It's just one of these amazing musicals that has been successful for over a decade now.
Let's talk a little bit about your past. You have a very interesting past, how you got started in the business. Go ahead and talk about how you got started in music and entertainment.
I grew up in a small town. I'd always grown up performing and loved music. My mom was a piano teacher. Grew up singing, playing piano, and this audition came along the way. Before shows like American Idol and The Voice were around, they had this show called Making the Band, and they were putting together this band on television. It ended up being a show on ABC. That formed a group called O-Town, and I was involved in that for about 4 years. From that point, I've had some incredible career opportunities. I was able to do my own album on Universal Records, end up having my own television show on MTV, and then I came to the attention of someone in the Broadway community, and they were like, we got to bring him in for this audition for the character of Link Larkin in a show called Hairspray, the musical.
Absolutely.
And I flew out there and I auditioned, and 2 days later I got offered this role on Broadway. And so I moved to New York. I did the show and was like, I love this. I love the you get the best of both worlds. You're acting, you're singing, it's kind of all of it.